I am Ken Sledge, and today I am joined by the Frazier Park Recut cast crew. How you guys doing, man?
We're great to be here. It's a nice change of pace.
Yes, we got on the top, we got Tyler. On the bottom, we got Dave. On the other bottom, I think it's opposite. So I think bottom right for you guys, it'll be Dave, and on the bottom left, it'll be Sam. How you guys holding up with quarantine? Everything going okay with you guys?
Yeah, great.
We are healthy.
Good.
We're alone.
It's definitely weird, but taking things day by day. David and I have actually we go on bike rides once a week. Every Thursday, get together. Obviously, we wear masks.
Sure.
But yeah, it's been quite a journey.
It's good that you guys you still stay social, get together, social distancing, staying safe. My wife's a respiratory therapist, so I'm really happy to hear you're taking it serious and wearing a mask. That's something that not a lot of people out there are doing. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you, because people like you wearing your mask, that's one less person that could go and infect my wife while she's at work. So thank you for doing the right thing, guys. I appreciate you. One thing I want to talk about real quick, everybody, if you're watching this and you have not watched the movie Frazier Park Recut, pause this video, go to Tubi. It is free there. Tubi. I think we discussed it.
Tubi. I think Tubi.
Tubi. I'll have it in the description. It's a free streaming service. If you have Amazon Prime, you can also watch it on Amazon Prime. And it is also, you can't really see, but it is good enough to own this DVD. So again, pause this video, go watch the movie, and then come back because you're not going to want to miss it. So about this movie, I got to say, Dave, now that you guys have all seen the movie, I could talk about it. Seeing you now, I love you, but in that movie, man, you were so creepy. So creepy.
Which one of us are you talking about?
Huh?
You're creepy now, Sam.
Yeah.
Yeah, you took the creepiness from there and you brought it here. So what?
Thanks a lot, man.
Oh no, what do you think was probably, in your opinion, before we get into the horror movie thing that we're doing, what do you think was your guys', each one of you, just real quick, your favorite part filming on Frazier Park?
Sure.
Go ahead, Tyler.
All right. I would say my favorite part about it was it was our first feature film that we had ever made, and just really the entire process from start to finish, figuring things out as we go, and just being together as a little group at a cabin in the woods and just gunning it every second that we had. We really didn't have any downtime. It was just go, get this movie done. We were only there for 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
So we really didn't have much time.
Wow.
So I think just like being caught up in all of that filmmaking energy in such a small amount of time was probably my favorite part about it, just experiencing that energy.
Well, being together for that short amount of time, doing so much, a lot of that animosity you see in the movie probably a little bit real at times, or
actually sometimes, yes.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the last 3 found footage films I watched were She Walks the Woods, Frazier Park Recut, and Followed. And I feel really bad for the next one I watch because it's going to be really hard to live up to these last 3 that I've watched. I kind of burned out on them for a while because the found footage thing, it started to become really Hollywood, and it started to become really, it didn't seem found footage anymore. They thought that you could take a found footage film and make it Hollywood, and it just doesn't work. But when you have movies like what you guys have done, you feel like that realness to it, like you're hanging out with your buddies while you're watching the movie. Like you found this camera and you're watching it. There's no Hollywood feeling to it. And to me, that's what makes a found footage film great. And you guys absolutely knocked that out of the park with this one.
Thank you.
So what about you, Sam? Your favorite part of filming this film?
I would actually say it was probably the first thing that we shot with David. And I'm not saying that just to stroke his ego, but when
Go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, so we had this.
You be you, pal.
Huh?
You be you, pal. You do what you need to do.
I will. So yeah, David had this full beard, and we're like, oh, we could work that into the end. Spoilers. But he has a big beard. We go out to this park and actually just film this monologue. And we're sitting there, and Tyler and I are just laying down on a picnic table. That's how kind of rugged this was. We're just sitting there filming, and David's knocking it out of the park. And I just kind of look over at Tyler. I'm like, oh, this is really good. We need to step up our game now. So then we really started trying to make the best thing we could. And yeah, I think that was my favorite, because we had just we'd started, we were racing to the finish line, and that's when it all began.
And I know that feeling of when you have this thing built up in your mind, and then you start doing it, and it is going exactly how you planned, and you just have that feeling of, oh my gosh, this is working. You know, this is exactly how we drew it up. It's working. And I'm so proud to be able to hear you guys talk about that, because, you know, from this side as a fan, it's awesome to be able to hear you guys talk about your experience with the film and kind of help me get into that world with you guys. Because, like I said, and my buddy Michael, the one that does the booking, that got a hold of you, he's the one that showed me the film. And the day he called me, he's like, bro, you have to watch this movie. And after we watched the movie is when he reached out to you guys. Like, that's how much of an impact it had on us. So, man, and hearing this, like, especially with you, Dave, hearing how you knocked it out of the park and these guys just watching you in awe, that's how we watch the film. You know, we watch it in awe of how you guys did. So it's cool to, you know, you guys are up there on the screen, we're out here, but you guys are feeling the exact same thing I'm feeling watching Dave. So that's such a cool thing to hear, man. So, Dave, what was your favorite part about filming with these two guys?
Yeah, I have two quick ones. One is, and they're about me, just to stay on theme here. One is the
great
spoiler alert. When I throw that horseshoe and hit it on the, you're frozen now, so, but I'll keep talking. Okay, we're back.
I think you're frozen.
Did you hear that about the horseshoe?
Yeah, repeat what
you
you
guys
said.
were frozen for me for a second too.
Okay.
What I said was, spoiler, when I threw that horseshoe and hit it, one, it was real, it wasn't digital, and second, it was the first take and only take that I did. So that was a highlight of more than the film, maybe my whole summer. Second was actually the piece. Second was the piece that we actually shot later. After we screened it for a couple of people, we decided we needed to add a little piece that we shot actually in Tyler's apartment. And you may not know, is a piece where I'm talking to camera and I come up with a knife. And that, I think that it was so fun. It was improvised, and it was, you wouldn't know where it was shot or anything, and I think it added so much. It added a great deal of tension to the rest of the film. So I really love that piece.
That's one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie, to be honest with you.
Yeah. So that wasn't part of the original plan. That was something that we just added on later. So I think it was valuable.
And to piggyback on what Dave just said, that specific spot was a suggestion from another filmmaker, Todd Berger, who said, I think you need a moment in the script where David's character kind of comes in and it's like kind of like the point of no return, so to speak, where you see him kind of turning. And thank you, Todd, for making that suggestion, because just like David said, I think it really it adds a lot to the story.
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, you know, today I am Lewis, but you know, watching you guys in the film with that, and that, like I said, that scene with David, and then going into the refrigerator scene, you know, like that whole tension being built was done masterfully. So before we start your favorite horror, or your first horror movie, I'm sorry, I'm all blown away right now.
They might be the same, first and favorite.
Yeah.
No.
Do you guys have any projects coming up you'd like to talk about, or?
Dave?
Well, none of us have projects coming up because nothing's going on. And here in LA, there's no shooting. But I directed a short film that's on Amazon Prime as well. It's called Fetish. And I just finished, late last year, actually finished kind of touring it in film festivals. Last time I saw Sam. And yeah, so that's kind of something that's out there. I don't have anything else that's other than writing some future scripts. I don't have anything that I'm working on acting in.
Dave, you're underplaying Fetish. Fetish was a great short film. I went to Nashville to go see this thing, and if you haven't seen it, you really have to check that out, Ken.
I'm going to put that in the description as well. If you haven't seen Fetish, make sure you're checking that out too. Is that on Tubi as well, or is that just on Prime?
Just on Prime.
Okay. Make sure you're getting that. Check that out on Prime as well. Sam and Tyler, you guys got anything under your hat you want to talk about, or?
I'll share mine first. So I just became a dad, and so that's
congratulations, man.
Yeah, that's been kind of the working project, and actually through quarantine, I've gotten to spend a lot of time with him in the house. So yeah, no other plans aside from just what I'm doing at work now, and I'm trying to slowly get back someday, but it might take a little while for the little one to grow up before I pick up a camera again.
Well, man, being a father first is really cool. So congratulations again. I'm glad. Healthy, happy baby, I hope.
Very, yeah.
Congratulations, man. I know this is probably one of the scariest times to be able to bring a child into this world with everything that was going on. So I'm glad everything worked out for you, and I'm glad that everything's okay.
Thanks so much. Yeah.
So what about you, Tyler?
Yeah, so actually a couple years ago, I shot my second feature, which actually Sam and Dave are both involved in as actors. And that film is called Willie, Jamiale, and the Kakakoon. And right now we're in festival limbo. Not many festivals are really happening right now because of coronavirus and whatnot. So we're just kind of waiting and to see what the fate of this film is. But it is complete, and we really hope we can have a screening sometime soon. It's not a horror. It's a pretty wacky comedy, but it's also kind of a family film.
Okay.
But yeah.
Well, when you get any updates on that, please send them my way. I know it's not a horror movie, but I'd love to let people know what's going on with it as well.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Now we are going to talk about everybody's first horror movie. Let's start with you. David, what was your first horror movie?
It's funny. I texted my dad because I had this memory of watching some show in Oklahoma that would come on the weekend. It's kind of like Friday Night Frights. I'm sure there was some version of it where everyone lived, or Saturday Night Frights. So I probably saw a movie there that I can't remember seeing because I was too young. Right. Just, who knows? I don't remember. But the first one that comes to mind at my age now is Halloween.
Okay.
So that would have been my first, and certainly among my favorite, and it definitely had a big impact on me.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. I mean, it had a big impact on the genre. I don't think we'd have, 80% of the slashers we have today without Halloween.
Right. Yeah. Just that the point of view.
I think I lost you again there, Dave.
And there's almost no blood.
He's doing this on purpose.
To look back, get into.
Dave, hold the phone.
Let me know when you're back. You guys
need to get out of your. You need to get out of your.
Yeah, that's all part of the game.
Yeah, you're really ruining this for Ken up here.
No, man, I get it, man. Technical things happen. I was having a lot of problems earlier. That's why I texted you, Tyler. I was having a lot of problems. I was worried that I wouldn't even be able to get you guys in here. So I definitely get it.
Yeah. A lot of editing, Ken.
Yeah. So, Sam, what about you? What was your first horror movie?
I thought a little bit about it. I was going to say the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but I think that the technical first horror scene that I ever saw was probably Terminator 2, Judgment Day, when the cop is at the vending machine and he turns around and he sees his double there with that big spike coming out of his finger. And as a young kid, as I was, to see that, like, emotionally scarred me to see that pin go through that man's eye. because I thought everything that I saw on TV was real. And so I think that actually stuck with me the longest, and more than Texas Chainsaw. But Texas Chainsaw was probably my first slasher horror movie to see.
And that's a pretty crazy way to start your horror life, with Texas Chainsaw.
Yeah.
What about you, Tyler? What was your first?
I have two very distinct memories as a kid. One of which I'll focus on more of, but the other one was a scene from Nightmare on Elm Street, and it was such a quick moment, scared the shit out of me. But the one I want to focus on is actually the alien abduction film Fire in the Sky. Okay. And I remember kind of sneaking downstairs into the basement where my mom was watching this film with my stepdad, and I kind of watched it without them knowing, and I saw this just very graphic, kind of like a probing scene where an alien is probing the guy that got abducted, and it was so terrifying that for the majority of my childhood, I was convinced aliens existed, and I had to sleep under the blankets in my bedroom.
I'm still not convinced that they're not out there.
Me neither.
And like I said at the beginning, I'm kind of going to split these questions up, guys, so that we're not here for a couple hours. I know you guys are busy. You guys have things to do as well. So, Dave, let's start with you. What scene in Halloween do you think affected you the most?
Wow. Well, I think probably the beginning, with the point of view through the mask of the kid. I mean, that was the first scene. I would have been like, I saw it when it came out, because I'm almost 29 years old. But so that was amazing and new. I definitely wouldn't have seen anything like that before. It was scary, and and it's a big part of why Halloween's so cool, is that point of view that we see for a big part of the movie.
Oh, absolutely. It's funny because I didn't see the first Halloween until I was probably 13 or 14, and I had watched 4 and 5 a lot because those were my mom's favorites. So when I think of Halloween, I actually think of 4 and 5. So talking about the original Halloween is a little bit, it's weird to think that way, but it's so far back there for me because I didn't see it until later on in life.
Yeah,
but I know what you're talking about. You see a little kid holding the knife. Like that's a little kid at this point. Where hold on a second.
Yeah.
So
I share that same thing. I share that same thing with seeing movies later, because as I was saying before, I froze before. I didn't really start looking at movies in this way until about 10 years ago. And my roommate, who's a big horror fan, will say, "Hey, have you seen this or that?" And I would have never. There's a bunch of classic horror films I've never seen because I just didn't. When I was younger, I didn't get into horror. So it's incredible. It's the same kind of experience where going back for you to go back and see Halloween 1.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's fun to see where it started, but it's also weird when you see how it started. Like same thing with Friday the 13th. I didn't see the original till way later on in life, so I never until Scream. I didn't even know that the mom was the killer in the first one. So, Sam, let's go with you. When you think about your first horror film, what is the first thing that pops into your head?
Man, first horror film. I would say that was probably a college film, and David was starring as Kevin Spacey's character in American Beauty, and it's the most horror piece I've ever made in my life. No,
that was a scary performance.
No, it probably started with another film. So I did something. It was called Pigman. And it was a guy that wears a pig mask, and he basically terrorizes this guy around his apartment. And it was shot on an 18 millimeter, so it has this really old film grainy look. It looks like it was shot in the 20s. And it had every horror trope you could possibly think of, him being enclosed in his house with like brick behind the window. There's a shower scene reveal. It was all a dream. He was in a psychotic ward the whole time.
That's pretty common, right? It was all a dream.
Yeah, exactly. And spoiler, that's how Frazier Park Recut ends.
Yeah, right. All a dream.
So Tyler, when you think of was it Fire in the Sky? Was that what it was called?
Yeah.
When you think of that, what is your favorite scene in that whole movie?
I just watched it. I feel like I watched it maybe 3 or 4 years ago, just to kind of refresh my memory. But it's probably the scene that scarred me as a kid is my favorite. If I'm pretty sure that scene is done with all practical effects and
I love practical effects.
Right, no CG, and it just makes it seem more real. You know what I mean? It honestly makes me think that's really what an abduction would be like, because it's kind of first person, and you just see like a lot of bright lights, and you see like a lot of alien figures, and there's like, I think there was like a goo involved, but yeah, I don't know, practical effects always, that always impressed me the most. You could do anything in CG, but if you can do it with practical effects and actually build the machinery and the costumes, I don't know, that to me just is always more fun in general.
Well, and I think it looks better, to be honest with you. There's a lot of times where I would prefer, even if it doesn't look perfect, I'd prefer a shitty practical effect over a CG look 99 out of 100 times.
Yeah.
And if you think about the original Men in Black, the first Men in Black, I think it's something like 80% of the effects in that were all practical. And if you compare that film to, the newest Men in Black, you can see a big difference. And it just feels more organic.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about. Like when I was talking about the found footage thing, like when you start putting a whole bunch of CGI into a found footage film, that to me is, you got to go as practical as you possibly can to get away from that Hollywood feel. So, and a lot of people look at found footage and they go, "Oh, it's just guys running around with the camera. It's probably the easiest way." I tend to think that it takes more talent to do what you guys do with a found footage film, because you have to still make it look perfect, even when you're imperfect at doing it. So I think that's where the biggest, found footage films have one of the biggest following out there. And I think that's why, because people that are fans of found footage realize the actual amount of work that goes into what you guys are doing. You still, like I said, you have to make this perfect thing while making it imperfect to make it real. So much respect to you guys for how great you did it on this film too.
Thank you.
Thanks.
No problem.
That was the goal though, is, how to make this as real as possible. And then that kind of plays into where we all pretty much play ourselves, and what you see on there is basically who we are. I mean, I bitch and moan a lot too, so that was definitely me coming through there. And David's killed people, so I mean,
for sure.
You
got to get into that character,
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, and I think some people may say, "Oh, I wish there were more thrills and scares," but I feel like if you're just tuning in as a fly on the wall and actually watching this movie, it feels very real, as if it actually happened. And that's where the horror kind of comes from, is, there's people out there that go a little bit too far with things. Right. And
the realistic. Yeah, go ahead.
No, that's all I had.
Yeah, that was going to say how realistic it is. And like you said, you guys were all playing yourselves. That comes off, And like I said, knowing now that you guys did the whole thing in 3 days, that you could definitely feel, like, I could feel that maybe that's where some of that tension was actually coming from. Like, guys start blowing up at each other, like, roll the fucking camera right now. So I can see it, man. It's so much fun. While we're talking about the movie though, real quick, I just want to throw this back in there. When you guys wrote that movie, was the ending always going to be like that? Or is that something that you guys threw in at the,
Sure.
When you wrote it, was that for sure how you were going to end it, or because
we actually wrote the Horseshoe ending based on the cabin itself. We were looking at pictures on Airbnb, and we saw the Horseshoe, and we were And that's when it clicked, because we were trying to think of the murder weapon and we wanted to do something different. We didn't want to just, do, your standard gun or knife or anything like that.
Sure.
And so when we saw that horseshoe, we thought like, oh, this is so perfect. But also David's grand scene setup, right at the end, where he's setting up the final shot for his first blow. That was all David. We really didn't give them any notes. It was just, this is where the camera is going to set up. Just act like you're setting up a kill room. I'm going to come in and hit me over the head, kind of a thing. But we were so impressed.
Like you've never done this before.
Yeah.
Right. Set up a kill room. Set up a kill room.
Yeah. And I know we talked about it earlier, but man, that last horseshoe scene, and now knowing that it was done with one take, like, that is perfect. Because that last horseshoe scene, that is like, I think that might be, besides the knife part, I think that might be my favorite scene in the whole movie. Like,
that's awesome.
Just like with him being like, job well done. Like that's such a perfect way for that to end, man.
Yeah, that felt good. That felt really
good. It's funny.
That's practical. That's practical effect right there, friends.
Yep. It's funny because we were so prepared to do that over and over and over again. We even had like a plexiglass in front of the camera to make sure the horseshoe wouldn't hit the camera. And
no need.
Like we never even had to utilize that plexiglass.
I can
funny.
Just picture.
I didn't have faith in David. I was prepared to be over the camera and drop the horseshoe, and that's why I got a frame and end.
That's all different now. It dawns on me now. I haven't added that to my special skills list on my resume, my acting resume. Horseshoe. Right. My God.
See, and I just picture David after he doing that, hitting a "Stand by Me" line, like, doesn't even miss when the ladies leave the toilet seat down. Well, we're talking about back to Halloween real quick, David. When you think of that movie, what is your favorite kill in that movie?
I
gotta ask you,
because
man, that one's gotta
sure.
go to you.
I feel like what stands out to me, especially because I saw it as a young kid, is probably the titillating sort of. There's a little sex scene that gets previewed, the couples together, and then he comes in with the sheet over and the glasses over the sheet.
Yeah,
that's iconic to me. Those glasses over the sheet. So I'd have to say that one. There may be another one. I'd have to watch it again, but that one definitely stands out.
And you just dropped one of my favorite words when I talk about Halloween, and that's iconic, because even when I have people that know nothing about horror whatsoever, but the minute you start playing that theme song on a piano, people right away, and that to me, I think Halloween and the first Nightmare on Elm Street, to me, are the most iconic horror movies of all time. There's so many shots in those movies that have been duplicated. There's so, even the 1-2 Freddy's Coming for You, the Halloween theme.
You know the story already.
I think I lost you again, Dave.
I think he might be moving.
Yeah, I know. I'm moving.
Nice.
Okay.
There we go. I don't look as good. Well, but we'll do like this.
You look more like Tom Morris. Perfect.
You guys may know the story already, Ken, but from what I understand, John Carpenter brought Halloween shot to Sony or whoever and played it for him, and they declined. He went home. He wrote all that music, as we all know.
Yeah.
Brought it back, and the rest is history. Mm-hmm. So at first, the film was rejected. No one would buy it before he put that music on. That's how powerful that music is.
And it's funny to say, because I just, not to get too off topic, but Halloween 2018, I'm a big fan of special features, and they were talking about one of the scenes they shot, and I thought this was really cool, when they see Michael for the first time, the niece, and the way they filmed that was they took a guitar and they ran a violin bow across the guitar to get that shrieking sound. So it's funny how the littlest things like that, like you said, putting in that lick, that piano lick, made someone buy the movie where it was rejected before.
Right.
Like, it just shows how the littlest things can take a film from being great to perfect.
Yeah,
in somebody's eyes.
While we're talking about music and horror, actually, that was a pretty that was a focus for Frazier Park, because we didn't want the film to be silent. We had to figure out a way, okay, how do we add music into this but still have it stay true to the found footage vibe. And David, once we found out that he could play the guitar, we thought, oh, this is a perfect way to naturally incorporate music. And then even more so, because he's technically the one editing the film the entire time, he's the one playing the guitar music that you hear on top of some of those scenes.
I just love that. Oh my God, he brought his fucking guitar. It's so great. And that's another thing I was to bring up earlier and I totally forgot. For as anxious this movie makes you and as creepy as this movie is, this goes down easily as one of the top 5 creepiest performances, Dave, I've ever seen. Great job on that. Not underselling you guys, but man, like I said, the one scene of getting in character, that whole scene is so unsettling. But there's a lot of legit, back and forth between you guys that made me laugh watching this movie. So I mean, I think it shows that you guys were friends before this. I had that same conversation with Danny. It really comes off natural when you guys know each other and you go into the movie like that. Nothing feels forced. You're not trying to make people laugh. Like the guitar line, that made me laugh.
Yeah.
All been in a situation where you're sitting by a bonfire and the one guy comes up with his guitar and you're like, this motherfucker, God damn it.
Sam, I feel like when we were writing the outline to this, we really didn't know if this was going to fall into a horror category or into like a comedy category, because I think at the beginning we wanted it to kind of come off as a mockumentary where you're watching and making fun of these two amateurs making a horror film. But it's interesting, people's takes on it after the whole thing came together. Because, in our perspective, it is a comedy horror, right? There are a lot of places where you can laugh at these two people. We are making fun of a lot of cliches that occur when people are making films. The refrigerator, that is such a common a cliche when you're shooting in an apartment. You have to unplug the refrigerator for sound.
Sure.
I always thought it was interesting hearing people's takes on the film, whether people thought it leaned more comedy or whether it leaned more horror.
Me personally, I'm on the lean more horror side. And while we're talking about leaning sides, I wouldn't trust the milk either. 10 hours is too much.
Way too much. Way too much.
I'm also on not that, so I'm on leaning horror and I'm leaning no milk. So those are the two sides I'm taking. So with Sam, I'll ask you back to the your first horror movie that you ever watched.
Now, I got that question wrong last time because you were asking me about a film that I watched, and I was telling you about films that I made. And after I finished talking, I thought, "Wow, I screwed that one up." So
I was just so into the moment that I was mesmerized. Like, wow, big mass. Where can I find
this guy's crazy.
Let's go back to that then. How old were you and where were you at when you watched your first horror movie?
When I watched Terminator 2 and Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Let's go with Terminator 2 since that one affected you the most.
Okay, yeah. I'd say 1993. I probably saw that scene when it was on like TNT or something. So what was I? Oh, you're gonna love this, David. I was 4 years old.
Wow.
And David,
He's like 4. You were 4. Where's my fucking horseshoe?
I'm all the way from Indianapolis. You can't get me. Yeah. So yeah, I was probably about 4 or 5 whenever I first saw that scene, and yeah, it really stuck out.
And to me, Terminator 2, there's a lot of horror elements in that movie. Like, I remember when I was young, the first time that the T-1000 was running and he's, that scared the shit out of me when I was a kid.
Yeah. I consider those horror movies. I mean, they're definitely slasher films where, you have a murderous robot who's chasing the main characters the whole time and they're fighting for their lives to get away. It's just set up. I mean, it's a sci-fi movie, but no, it is a sci-fi horror. So
absolutely.
I think we're probably all of us are probably horrified to watch those robot dogs that are contemporary, the mechanized dogs that can open doors and walk through.
Boston Dynamics, yeah.
You got it. Yeah.
So Man, I gotta watch Terminator 2 now, man. Like, I haven't seen this in so long. I remember I obviously, another thing, guys, I don't know their movies before we started this, and we wanted to keep this completely genuine. I didn't want to know their movies, but Terminator 2 was the first movie I ever remember crying to when I was a kid.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
When Arnie was like, I know now why you cry, but it's something I can never do. And he gives a thumbs up as he's going down. I remember little me just like, So it's cool you brought that up, because hearing these things, even like with Halloween, unfortunately, I've never seen Fire in the Sky, so I can't really put any of that. I would like to. I think I'm going to have to purchase that. But you hear these things, and one of the reasons I wanted to do this podcast is because I love the feeling of going back to your first horror movie, because I compare it. I've done this a couple times. I hate the comparison, but I compare it to drugs. The first time you do that drug, you get that high, and then you're always chasing it again. That's how I feel with horror movies. You watch it for the first time, you get that scare, and you're always chasing it again. And something that me and Tyler had talked about is you don't have DramaCon, you don't have Comedy Con, but you have horror cons all over the country, all over the world, because of what horror means to people. And when you start doing something like this on a platform, I'm nobody right now, and I get that, but the amount of people in the horror world that are so open and so loving to everybody, you see, these movies that are so dark and so scary and so gory, the most lovely people come out of this, and you meet some of the nicest guys in the world, all because of everybody's love for horror and how they want to talk about this stuff. So it's such a cool thing, man. And you guys have made a staple movie, in my opinion. It's something that I feel a lot of people will enjoy that haven't seen it yet, just based on creepiness alone, man. This movie is phenomenal.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We, Frazier Park and Fetish both screened at Telluride Horror Show. So I've gone out there a couple of years in a row, and that was my experience both times with what a lovely group of people. Everybody's a freak. They come out to the mountains to sit in a dark theater for a couple hours and watch crazy shit. An amazing community all the way around. Everyone is just beautiful.
Oh, and it's like you think about horror movies, and the last thing you think of is, oh man, the people that watch these are some of the most genuine, nice, kind people you'll ever meet. But they aren't. I mean, I'm trying to build the channel right now, and everybody that I talk to is so supportive and so helpful, and having great guys like you on isn't hurting anything, obviously, but everybody is so open and honest, and it's such a good feeling to have. And I really, really hope we can get more of you guys in the horror world. I'm excited to see the comedy, but I would like to see some more of you guys in the horror world and what you can accomplish there as well together.
That's right.
Thank you. Well, while you were just talking about horror enthusiasts and how friendly, nice they are, I feel like we'd be doing a disservice to this film if I didn't include our assistant director and DP John Birchtold, who was out there at the cabin with us, helping us along the way. He is someone who he is a horror enthusiast. His entire Instagram and Twitter social media is all revolving around horror.
That's awesome, man.
And he wishes he could be here today. But he was a huge help in our film, and actually there were some scenes that he kind of wrote and directed on the spot while we were in the cabin.
That's
some
awesome.
of those movie within a movie scenes that you see in Frazier Park, those were inspired by John himself.
Well, and tell him, I know that we were supposed to have John on today. Unfortunately, life happens sometimes, man. But let him know if this is something he would like to do. I would still love to have him on.
Absolutely.
If there's ever a time I'm permitted to talk to somebody about a horror movie, I am definitely down to do so. So, like I said, I know you guys are busy. In closing here, just one thing. I do a skull rating where we rate your favorite movie on a scale of 0 to 5 skulls.
Skull rating?
Go right there. Go with 0 being the worst, 5 being the best. So let's start with you, Tyler, on your skull ranking. Fire in the Sky. How many skulls does that get?
Oh, there we go. I guess we'll hold the skulls up for this portion of the show. I would give it. It depends. If I was rating it as a kid, I'd give it a 5 for being terrifying, and a 1 for ruining my childhood. Now, having seen it a couple years ago again, I'd probably give it I give it a 4.
Okay, and that's
4 out of
fair.
5 skulls.
What about
Yes.
you, Sam? We're talking about T2 Judgment Day. What's your skull rating on this one?
I would give it more than 5 skulls because literally the opening shot is the Terminator stepping on a field of skulls.
Yes.
But I'll give it 5 just because that's the top.
And to be honest with you, T2 and Aliens are my favorite sequels of all time until we get Frazier Park Recut.
James Cameron has signed on to direct FPR2.
There we go. FPRR.
Yeah, FPRR.
Whoa.
So no,
I'm afraid not.
What about you? Halloween. I mean, it's Halloween, so I'm pretty sure I know the answer.
I wonder what Tom thinks of that. Yeah, I'm gonna say 5 because I don't want anyone sliding into my DMs. But I'll tell you what, I will watch it again. I'll watch it again here in the next few days, and I'll comment down below where everyone else should be commenting down below, and let you know what my new review is. I suspect it's going to be around 5, and that is my final answer.
That is awesome. So don't go anywhere, guys. I am going to end the episode. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Make sure, again, Frazier Park Recut, if you just watched this and you didn't go watch the movie, I am disappointed in you because I gave you ample time to do so. Go check it out now. I'm going to end the episode, guys. Hold on 1 second for me. Everybody else, have a great day, and I'll see you soon.